بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين.
This here is a MEP 806 Alpha 60K generator. These generators power things like motor pools and things of that nature. You have your terminal.
Today is a special day for Sergeant Lewis, a power generator equipment repairer, and Private Muhammad,
I drive these trucks,
a motor transport operator. Both are deployed in Afghanistan, part of Combined Task Force Dragoon.
I've never been in a situation in my career to where I've seen an actual place to where we can go. Like, you know, soldiers have churches and they have all different types of denominations, but actually having an Islamic center is actually pretty exciting. I'm excited to go. I've never seen one in my career, and I think it's awesome that they're actually finally doing it.
Sergeant Lewis and Private Muhammad are Muslim Americans, and today for the first time they are being introduced to the Islamic Center on Kandahar Airfield, Afghanistan.
The mudahara of the kuffar in this matter entails many other issues in reality. It's not only participating in an organization that harms Islam and massacres Muslims. As mighty as that is, there's other mighty matters intertwined with it. Killing the youngest of our infants, or the worst sinning Muslim, is mightier than destroying the Kaaba. An infant or the worst Muslim who falls under the term Islam. Imagine the reaction of Muslims if the US or the UK military was to mobilize in order to destroy the Kaaba. They've done what's worse than that thousands upon thousands of times. And what I'm getting at is the massacres, as mighty as they are, they're only a stepping stone to other mighty matters attached to them, like colonizing, stabilizing kufr in our countries, invading and influencing the rules and laws that people go by. It's colonizing, it's protecting, it's upholding, it's defending, stabilizing, spreading man-made kufr constitutions. Participating with them is participating in making kufr supreme, like ruling by democracy or handing the lands over to Rafidah to rule by shirk and destroy the Muslims. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَقَاتِلُوهُمْ حَتَّى لَا تَكُونَ فِتْنَةً وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. And fight until there's no fitna. Fitna is shirk. Until there's no shirk. وَيَكُونَ الدِّينُ كُلُّهُ لِلَّهِ. It means fight until the religion is for Allah alone, completely, totally, fully to Allah. What's the ruling on one who fights to establish the exact opposite of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordered? Allah said to fight until there's no fitna, and this person contributes to the massacres of the Muslims to establish fitna and kufr on this earth. Someone who does that, does he truly love and have wala to Allah and His Messenger and the believers? Does he have wala to them? Has he established wala to Allah and Islam? In Sahih Muslim, وَمَنْ قَاتَلَ تَحْتَ رَايَةٍ عُمِّيَّةٍ or عِمِّيَّةٍ, عُمِّيَّة or عِمِّيَّة is both linguistically proper. يَغْضَبُ لِعَصَبَةٍ. يَغْضَبُ لعصبة أو يدعو إلى عصبة أو ينصر عصبة فقتل فقتلة جاهلية. فقتل فقتلة جاهلية. راية عمية. Raya means a banner, whoever fights under a banner. Ammiya comes from blindness. Whoever fights for a blind banner. Ammiya here means dalala. Whoever fights under an uncertain banner. Everything one fights for that is dalala is included in that term. A cause that's not clear. an unjust cause, one who fights for tribalism is included in that. If he's killed, what did the Messenger ﷺ say? He died a death of jahiliyyah. Wal-'iyadhu billah. Imagine people participating and enlisting in massacring Muslims to establish kufr on the earth. You see how deranged the thinking has become? A Muslim only gives his life to raise the word of Allah Supreme. That's when the life becomes cheap. To honor the Deen of Allah and to protect what Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala ordered that it be protected. Willful, volunteering and joining such military is kufr, even if they claim to love Islam. Even though those who enlist, they enlist in believing and in loving the cause, the military and the cause. But let's say, for example, they say we're doing it for dunya purposes. We're doing it for the GI Bill, for the college tuition, to get in shape, for medical care, to travel around the world, for the salary. This person's still a murtad. Imam Abdul Latif ibn Abdul Rahman al-Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala said, someone may hate shirk and love tawheed. Listen to this. He may hate shirk and love tawheed, but the defect will come to him how? In not having bara'ah, disavowing the people of shirk, and in not having wala to the people of tawheed. With that, he follows his desires and enters into shirk, destroying his deen. And with that, he leaves the layers of tawheed. Why? He said, because he has no wala and bara. And he said that's taken from the word of the shahada. As I've always said, the biggest proof on wala and bara is the shahada one takes. Abdul Latif ibn Abdul Rahman al-Shaykh rahimahullah ta'ala also summarized a fatwa of Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala on this matter. He said, because the fatwa on this are many. He said, Abdul Latif ibn Abdul Rahman al-Shaykh mentioned that Ibn Taymiyyah said, من جمز إلى معسكر التتار ولحق بهم ارتد. من جمز إلى معسكر التتار ولحق بهم ارتد وحل دمه وماله. من جمز is a term means to go to flee to side with. It's mentioned in the hadith of Ma'iz radiallahu anhu, who confessed zina to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered that he be stoned. In Sahih Muslim, فلما أذلقته الحجارة هرب. In Sahih Bukhari, فلما أذلقته الحجارة جمز. The term in Muslim, Sahih Muslim says, Ma'iz fled. Jamaza was used in the narration of Bukhari. So that means, Jamaza means fled. Linguistically, that's what it means. Fled or goes to. So he's saying, whoever flees and goes to the Tatar and joins their military is a murtad, an apostate. And the wording of Imam Abdul Latif, rahimahullah ta'ala, quoting Ibn Taymiyyah, I was never able to find that in the original works of Ibn Taymiyyah. And I believe what he was trying to do was to summarize, correctly summarizing the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah overall on this matter. He has his own fatwa as well. Imam Abdul Latif ibn Abdul Rahman al-Shaykh, he's the grandson of Imam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab. He was born actually around 200 to 220 years ago. He said, Abdul Latif al-Shaykh said, if one willingly, by choice, goes to fight with the kuffar against the Muslims and aids them with himself or his wealth, then there's no doubt that he's a kafir. Ibn Baz in his fatwa said, the Muslim scholars have an ijma', consensus. They agree, whosoever aids and supports the kuffar against the Muslims and helps them in any way, he's a kafir, just as they are kuffar. Al-Azhar, when it wasn't as bad as it is today, in 1947, when the Shaykh of the Azhar was Abdul Majid Salim, he said, one who aids the enemies of Islam is not among the people of Iman. And he's left his religion with that. And he said that Muslims are free from such people. Imam Ahmad was asked about women during the time of Babak al-Khurrami. Babak al-Khurrami was a man who fought the Abbasi Khilafah. In al-Jami' لعلوم الإمام أحمد and al-Furu' and Sunnah lil-Khallal, they said Imam Ahmad was asked about the woman kidnapped by this individual. Babak al-Khurrami, he was a Majusi. He fought the Abbasi Khilafah for nearly 20 years and he gained massive amounts of followers. And he killed and enslaved a lot of Muslims until he was finally defeated and killed by Al-Mu'tasim. He enslaved Muslim women during his time. The question to Imam Ahmad was about the children of the women who were raped and taken by him. What's the ruling about the children? He said they follow their mother. The children follow their mother. They're Muslim like their mother. Because Al-Khurrami's attacks on the Abbasi Khilafah lasted nearly 20 years, those children grew up among his people and probably grew up to fight the Muslims. You know that from the question, because Imam Ahmad was asked a follow-up question. He said, what if that son joins the military of Al-Khurrami and fights us and fights the Muslims? Imam Ahmad said, he's a murtad, he's an apostate, he's an infidel. Ibn Hazm in Al-Muhalla was talking about the categories of people who live among the kuffar and the rulings pertaining to each of them. And he even mentioned the story of Az-Zuhri. Zuhri vowed and planned during the time of Hisham ibn Abdul Malik that he will leave to the land of the Romans, because the successor of Hisham, who was Al-Walid ibn Yazid, he had vowed if he gains power and he's able to, he's going to kill Az-Zuhri. Az-Zuhri said, I'm going to go to the lands of the Romans. Ibn Hazm said, when he was talking about the categories of those who live among the kuffar, he said, something like that would be excused. That applies to some, not many, who live in the lands of the kuffar today. And the reason I mentioned that is to show the context the ulama were speaking in. They were speaking on the ruling pertaining to those who live in the lands of the kuffar. What am I trying to get at? That's a response to those who do qiyas. Qiyas of the mas'ala, of the issue of enlisting in the military, on the mas'ala of living among the kuffar. That's quite a deceptive qiyas, not just an invalid one. Ibn Hazm, the same one who excused people like Az-Zuhri, said about the military, فَإِنْ كَانَ هُنَاكَ مُحَارِبًا لِلْمُسْلِمِينَ مُعِينًا لِلْكُفَّارِ بِخِدْمَةٍ أَوْ كِتَابَةٍ فَهُوَ كَافِرٌ. Whoever lives among the kuffar and fights the Muslims and aids them in any service, even if it's merely writing for them, which is to support them against the Muslim, then he's a kafir. He also said, whoever lives among the kuffar and by choice fights the Muslims, he is a full and complete murtad with the complete full rules of a murtad applicable to him. من لحق بدار الكفر والحرب مختارا محاربا لمن يليه من المسلمين فهو بهذا الفعل مرتد له أحكام المرتد كلها.